Yes, we still watch wrestling. Welcome to another episode of Yes, we still watch wrestling. To all my people who still watch wrestling, I am Steve Dent. Once again, shout out to my co-host, Shaq French. He's currently on injured reserve right now. Y'all pray for him, man. Hopefully his knee gets better soon, man. So well wishes to him. Can't start this podcast without shouting my brother out, man. Y'all see him back soon. In the meantime, got some stuff to talk about. Now, it's not ironic that I started off the show playing Seth Rollins. I ain't just do that just to make y'all have something to listen to, man. I wanted to start this podcast off giving a big shout out to Seth Rollins, man. I've been saying, and obviously we just started the podcast. We haven't even been 6 months old yet, so y'all wouldn't know. But my friends, Shaq knows, anybody who I talk wrestling to knows, who I've said for the past couple of years, in my opinion, has been the number one wrestler in the world, and that's Seth Rollins. I felt like Seth Rollins should have been the one to main event WrestleMania last year against Roman Reigns. I felt like Seth Rollins deserved the main event spot this year. That's why I was unfortunate that CM Punk got hurt. We got to see some big moments. Shout out to Damian Priest. So it kind of worked. I don't want to wish injury on nobody, you know what I'm saying? But it did kind of work out where Seth got the main event in one of the biggest main events. He actually was part of two of the biggest main events ever, but as far as having a match, you know, him and Cody versus Rock and Roman, one of the biggest main events of all time. So it worked out, but I've been saying for a while he is the best wrestler on planet Earth. Now some people would say Kenny, say Omega, no problem with that. Some people would say, who's another name? Will Ospreay, no problem with that whatsoever. Some people would say Cody, no problem with that whatsoever. But my pick is Roman. I mean, not Roman. Some people would say Roman. No problem with that either. As far as wrestling ability, as far as superstars, Roman Reigns, but as far as wrestling ability, I've always said Seth. And I say all this to say I want to give a shout out to him because Becky Lynch confirmed today. I don't know if y'all saw. I'm recording this on April 19th. This will be out this weekend. But she confirmed on April 19th that Seth Rollins had knee surgery to repair a torn meniscus. So with that being said, Seth was really hurt this entire time. And kind of like, if you follow the NBA, like he kind of pulled a Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid had like a quick procedure. He didn't fully repair the meniscus. He didn't replace the meniscus, or he would have been out for like the entire year. But he got a quick procedure that would have given him a couple months to come back. Maybe not 100%, but able to play basketball. And it seems like Seth kind of did the same thing, because Seth didn't wrestle for like two and a half months, and then he wrestled a couple matches before Mania, and then he had the two Mania matches. So but the whole time, like, people thought it was just a sprain or whatever. Nah, like, it was confirmed that it was a torn meniscus. He had the surgery today to have it fixed. I didn't read the details, so I don't know if it was replaced or whatnot. But for him to do what he did, WrestleMania weekend, the tag match, if I'm not mistaken, and I should have looked this up beforehand, so I apologize if I'm wrong. But if I'm not mistaken, the tag match was a longer match than Roman versus Cody, I believe. I want to say they said it was the longest main event in the history of WrestleMania, that tag match. So for him to do the tag match, and then not even 24 hours later, because him and Drew opened WrestleMania Sunday, have the opening match WrestleMania Sunday, and then even though he wasn't like heavily featured, be part of it. It all explains, like, if you notice, like, Seth, I thought it was all just an act, but Cody, not Cody, who was it? KO, Sammy, and Jay, they got out of the ring to help Seth out, get back in the ring. He could barely stand. He had to be helped back to the back. it explains why. He was the MVP of the weekend, man. He proved why he's the best wrestler on earth, and to do that once again, I thought it was just a sprain. I thought he was just selling it. Even when the initial report came out the next day, right? The initial report was that he was just taking time off to rest the knee. He just needed to rest the knee. No, he needed to have a whole surgery. He needed to have a whole procedure. So to do what he did on a torn meniscus, he's the MVP. I think when he comes back, I think when him and Roman come back, because today is Friday. I'm recording this at 11 o'clock at night, so I've already watched SmackDown. If you watch which we'll get to Solo here in a minute, but if you watch the segment with Solo and Paul Heyman, they was chanting for Roman tonight. So when two people that's going to get a ruckus ovation when they come back is Seth and Roman, and I think it's because the WWE Universe, it worked out in his favor that he didn't. And once again, I'm not wishing injury on CM Punk. Best of, speedy recovery to him. But it kind of worked out because this whole weekend, I think, has put a different level of appreciation from the WWE Universe and even wrestling fans around the world for Seth Rollins, man. I think they're going to love him even more when he comes back, man. So speedy recovery to Seth, man. Get your rest, man. You've been holding it down for a while, and we look forward to seeing you back. I don't know what the timetable is for surgery for a torn meniscus. Hopefully he's back by SummerSlam, but I'm pretty sure we'll see him before the end of the year. So much love and respect to that man. I still have him as the best wrestler in the world, man. And I think WrestleMania weekend and that report just kind of proved it. All right. Y'all let me know what y'all think. You can tell me if I'm reaching or not, but I think it's going to be a different, even higher level of appreciation for him, for sure. Next topic. It's going to be short. Listen, I ain't going to spend much time on this, but this is something I've been kind of wanting to talk about. I actually wanted to talk about it in last week's episode, but I just did a WrestleMania recap. So if you watch episode 4, all we talked about was WrestleMania, and rightfully so. But Ronda Rousey, man. I don't know if y'all have seen the reports and her interviews and things like that. But she's been bashing wrestling, not just WWE. She definitely bashed WWE, but she's been bashing wrestling. Kind of saying how it's not a real sport. How she believes that, WWE was a bad place to work, which at the time it might have been. Vince was still in charge. But she wouldn't dare come back and things would have to change and this, that, and the third. I don't remember all of her direct quotes, but it's been very negative. The only positive thing I saw, now granted, I didn't watch the full interview. These are all quotes, these are all clips on Instagram. And quite honest with you, I don't want to watch the full interview. But I saw what she said about Triple H, which was positive. She said that Triple H, believed in her and things like that. So when Ronda Rousey first debuted, we was in awe because she transferred over well, right? And that match with Kurt Angle, and Kurt Angle looked bad. He looked bad that match, but he did his part. And Triple H and Stephanie, it was a great match. Breakout performance for Ronda. But what happened with Ronda is people figure out, number one, nobody wanted to hear her talk. She was god awful with promos. And then her wrestling matches weren't, like, if she wasn't with someone of like a Sasha Banks or a Charlotte Flair or Bayley or Becky Lynch, if she wasn't with someone of that caliber, her matches were not good. They were carrying those matches. And I believe she might have tried, but the more and more she started to wrestle, like the more like we like, nah. And one of my bros, shout out to my boy JD. JD had said when she originally debuted that she needed to go to NXT. And I told him, nah. I said, Ronda should be fine. I thought they was going to give her a manager or something. Everybody can't be a Paul Heyman person, a Paul Heyman guy or Paul Heyman woman or whatever you want, or girl or whatever you want to say. But I thought they was gonna give her a manager so she didn't have to talk, and she was just gonna be that person that just beat people up. But I think Vince handled her wrong. She should have been in NXT. Um, and so with all that being said, man, Ronda, man, we don't care if you ever come back. We really don't, especially now. Like for you to say this now, the way that wrestling has been cooking is as hot as of a product as it's ever been. I did a Twitch tonight, and I said this when I was live streaming. I did a Twitch tonight, and normally when I get on Twitch and I get ready to stream, you see like the popular platforms or the people that streaming currently, and there's always gaming stuff or whatnot. Tonight there was already like 5 streams for SmackDown before I even hit start streaming. Um, Wrestling is as hot as it's ever been. So for you to say this now, like it's not like the company is suffering. It's not like where we were a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, where people was talking about fully committing to AEW because they was getting tired of WWE. We not in that. We not in that stratosphere no more. Like wrestling, whether you watching AEW or WWE or any other promotion, wrestling is cooking right now. But especially WWE. So nobody wants to see you wrestle anymore. Nobody really doesn't. I mean, I wouldn't even tune in to Ring of Honor to see you wrestle. Like you're not entertaining. You're not good with promos. Your character sucks. So you have no leverage to say any of this. And Becky Lynch came out and said, like in the most respectful way possible, she couldn't wrestle. And the WWE universe, once they got over the fanfare, they started to see that. And now her personality really showing. She's starting to sound bitter. So on behalf of, I can't speak for everybody, but I know I speak for myself. I know I speak for Shaq. We good. You know, we good. We don't even want to hear you speak about wrestling no more. MMA fans don't want to see you go back to UFC because you kind of got, well, that's a different, we're not even going to talk about UFC. This is wrestling podcast. But yeah, that's all I really got to say about that. Like I was watching the clips and saw most of her quotes, and I'm like, bro, like I don't get it, because nobody wants to see you wrestle anymore. You had your last match against Shayna, which was a snooze, and that was supposed to put Shayna over, and it did nothing because nobody. It's sad because that was a match that was supposed to put Shayna back on the right track, and all it did was bring her down even further because of you. So that says all it needs to say. All right, so that's all I gotta say about Ronda. Let's talk about Solo. So, all right. So last week on SmackDown, and I think for the most part, right? So if you watch the WrestleMania press conference, Triple H said something that got a lot of people's attention. He said he felt like the next chapter for Roman Reigns was gonna blow people's minds, was gonna blow people away, right? And then so when he says that, we're thinking, hey, all right, we'll just wait to see what happens when he comes back. All right. But then SmackDown comes. And when SmackDown comes on, it starts with Solo, Paul Heyman, and Jimmy Uso going to the locker room, and they see that Cody Rhodes now has their old locker room and stuff like that. And Paul Heyman says, hey, this is the cost of losing. Let him have his locker room by order of the Tribal Chiefs. I'm paraphrasing right now, right? And so I don't think anybody really expected the next chapter of the bloodline to start on SmackDown. I think we was all thinking, oh, we'll just see like, Jimmy Uso, Solo have some matches or whatever, kind of build them. Maybe even some people said they thought Solo and Jimmy was about to be a tag team and go after the tag team titles and just kind of hold the fort down a little bit until Roman got back. Wrong. Wrong. What we got is the next chapter of the story for the bloodline, which is what we should have expected because this is the stuff that we've been getting all along. Just when you think there's about to be a boring time or a boring phase for the bloodline, here comes the next cliffhanger. Here comes the next plot twist, right? And the plot twist is Solo. So Solo stepped up, booted Jimmy out, Tommy Tonga debuts, and they pretty much jump him out of the bloodline, beat him up brutally. The way they beat him up, we shouldn't see Jimmy. They kind of writ him off TV, so we shouldn't see Jimmy for at least a month. I'd say 2 months, but at least a month, right? So all I say all that to say all week I've been getting like people been hitting me up and people that say, hey, like we think The Rock is the tribal chief, the real tribal chief, and he just got Solo doing all the work, right? And I've been saying no. Like, and shout out to Samoan Supremacy, man. I've been following that page for a while. Shout out to the woman. I don't know the woman name that runs it, but shout out to her. She does a phenomenal job with that page, man. But she's been posting videos all week of previous segments where they hint where Solo was going, to the point where to the promo where Roman made Solo the tribal heir, to the promo where when Roman and Jimmy was about to have the tribal combat match, and Roman is holding the bees, the tribal bees that belong to the high chief, and Solo is looking at it, and Roman looks at him, and then Solo looks away. To there's another promo that hints at what Solo was about to do, all showing how Solo they've been grooming Solo for this moment low key. And when you watched last week, the reason why I've been saying no, like Solo is like the real tribal chief, is because he didn't act like somebody that was acting on orders of somebody else. He was acting as if he was the leader. He stopped Tama Tonga and instructed him in several ways of whether it was get the chair or pick Jimmy up so he can give him the Samoan spike. He was acting as a leader. When he attempted to call Roman Reigns, he smashed the phone. Like, if you acting on orders, you're not doing that. You know what I'm saying? So it's not The Rock. And even tonight, if you watch SmackDown tonight, he got driven to the arena, hops out, giving orders to Tama Tonga, and then Tama Tonga drags Kevin Owens out to the ring or whatnot. And Solo got real heat. Like, it's real heat on Solo right now. And also, and the crazy thing about it, and this is why the Bloodline story is the greatest story, and it's nowhere near done. It's the greatest storyline in the history of wrestling, right? I want you to think about this from this perspective. Jimmy is a heel. Jimmy just lost to Jey Uso. People hated Jimmy for the way that he was costing Jey Uso matches. And Solo takes out a heel. And a heel that, mind you, a heel that some people were starting not to even care about. Because when was the last time we seen Jimmy Uso wrestle before WrestleMania? When was the last time we saw that? He hadn't wrestled a match since like the Royal Rumble. Before that, like, he barely was getting matches. So he was a heel that they were starting to move on from, and people were starting not to even care about, because everybody's so invested in Jay, right? And he takes him out. And because he took out Jimmy Uso, he didn't take out Cody Rhodes, he didn't take out Kevin Owens yet, he didn't take out no big-time babyface. He took out a heel. And because he took out a heel, he got so much heat tonight. They was booing him like he was Dominant Mysterio tonight. It's working. That's why it's the greatest storyline in the history of wrestling, because you're invested in it. So now, because people forgot how much they love Jimmy Uso, now Solo got all this heat. I thought he did a good job tonight of talking through the promo or whatever, and then he was giving orders tonight too. So I personally think there's a lot of people that think The Rock is the real tribal chief, and they setting up something between The Rock, Solo, Tama Tonga versus Roman and the Usos. I personally believe The Rock has nothing to do with this. I believe Solo is the real tribal chief. I don't know if Rock approves. I think we're going to see a storyline where The Rock may not even approve what's going on with Solo. But Solo stepped up to the plate. I think Jacob Fatu is going to debut soon. We may even see Zilla, because if something that nobody has talked about. Rikishi put a post out WrestleMania weekend, and it was a picture of a lot of members of the family in the hotel room. And the caption that he put was Bloodline Part 2 ? And Jacob was in the room. Zilla was in the room. I don't know if Tama Tonga was in that room or not. And then he also put out a tweet, I believe, or either Instagram post, and said, wait until I give the word to unleash the beast. He was talking about Solo the whole time. They knew what was coming up, and we never paid attention to it. Solo is the real tribal chief. We definitely going to see Jacob. I don't know if we're going to see Zilla, but we definitely going to see Jacob soon. And then Roman will probably come back, and like my boy Willie said, shout out to Willie. He said Roman will probably go and make amends with the Usos or whatnot. We'll see a Usos reunion. Even though I want Jay to have his solo run, I do, man. I don't want to see the Usos as a tag team yet. I don't feel like they should rush that moment back when they reunite, right? But I think it's coming sooner than later. So I like where they're going with Solo. I like the character change with him. I like him talking more. You could tell that he's ready for the moment. Like Rab was saying, he not built for this, but Rab already don't like Solo. So I think Solo is built for the moment. He got some grooming to do. Roman Reigns, he had some legendary promos in his run. And when he started off, you started to see the progress. And I think tonight we saw progress with Solo at a young age, man. So I like where this storyline is going, man. And the thing that's been consistent is we don't exactly know what's going to happen. We have an idea, but we don't know. So everything I could be saying could be wrong. It could really be The Rock. I just don't see it happening. So based on everything that we got. So shout out to Solo, man. I like this. I like this arc. But the tricky part is he got to start winning matches. And the crazy thing about the storytelling is it's almost like people forgot. Like he lost like 23 straight matches after he beat John Cena up until this point. But now it's like with this storyline, people done forgot all about that. Like we expect him to win his next few matches. So I like that. I like where they're going with Solo. I give a break from talking about WWE real quick. AEW. Let's talk about that. You got Dynasty coming up Sunday. We might be streaming live during Dynasty. I don't know, man. I'm a teacher, and I have to be at work by 7 o'clock. 5 o'clock comes early, and AEW pay-per-views are long, long. They almost like on UFC time. UFC pay-per-views don't be going off until like 1 o'clock at the earliest. So I'm very, I want to watch it because I'm very interested to see two matches. Actually, it's a few matches I want to see. Mercedes Moné is wrestling. Her AEW debut should be dope. I want to say she's going up against Julia Hart. Will Ospreay versus Daniel Bryan. I really want to see that match. That might be a match of the year candidate in any promotion. Okada versus Pac should be a very good match. A great match of that. And then I want to see if they're finally gonna put the belt on Swerve. Swerve versus Samoa Joe should be a great one. And I want to see if they finally gonna put the belt on Swerve or whether they gonna wait. I think it's inevitable that he's gonna become champion. Just all about when. So I hope it's now. I hope he gets his win at Dynasty, but we gotta see. They may wait till all in, so we gotta see. And then shout out to Moxley. He became the IWGP. I think IWGP. Yeah, World Heavyweight Champion. So he's the first person in history of wrestling to hold the main title in the major three promotions, which is New Japan Wrestling, AEW, and WWE. So shout out to him. But AEW. The other match. Other match I'm very curious about is Young Bucks versus FTR. And only because they aired that footage, the infamous backstage footage. So CM Punk, obviously he got fired because of what happened backstage with him, Jack Perry, and particularly Tony Khan, him going after Tony Khan. And they showed the footage, and it happened exactly how Punk said, right? I have two takeaways in regards to them airing that footage. Number one, at some point, as much as I love CM Punk, I've told Shaq this because Shaq is like a huge CM Punk fan. At some point, you got to be part of the problem. He had issues in WWE. He's had issues everywhere he's gone. At some point, you have to take accountability, and you have to realize you may not be 100% of the problem, but you're a part of the problem. And he's had issues everywhere he's gone. Now, so far in WWE, Triple H and everybody else is saying he's a joy to work with. There's even reports that him and Seth Rollins are getting along. And they're keeping him around, having him do everything, which is true because if they didn't like him, if he wasn't in good standards with people, he wouldn't have been on the WrestleMania broadcast. They probably would have waited until he got healed all the way to even bring him back. So they're saying he's on the right track, and I'm hoping it stays that way. They're saying he's been a great mentor for a lot of the young wrestlers and stuff like that. I hope it stays that way. But that footage just puts him in a bad light. And then two, it looks very messy. Now, I said this to the homies because they didn't think they was really going to air it. They thought they was going to fool the fans. I said, no. I said, now, it is, on one hand, it's smart to do what they did simply because the whole entire world was talking about WrestleMania. Even people that don't watch wrestling was hitting me up about WrestleMania and wanting to know my takes on different stuff. The whole world was talking about Mania. The whole world, like Nightcap was talking about the WrestleMania main event. Charles Barkley was talking about, everybody was talking about WrestleMania. So how do you put eyes back on the product? Like, you still have a show to do. So you do that by doing something drastic to get the ratings. So that's what they did. But it's like, now what? Because now you come off as WCW. It's in the dark days. Like, you come off as very messy. And what they aired was very messy. To actually show that. And it was an embarrassing moment for a lot of people. A lot of people didn't want to relive that because it put the company in a bad light. So how do you respond? So it's like music, right? There's a lot of people in music who have done a lot of bad things. But if you are able to put out great music and classic music, it's almost like all is forgiven. Same thing in sports. Somebody can do something real bad that you don't like in sports, right? But if they win a ring, then sometimes we kind of put that to the past for a little bit. We may not always forget all about it. We would put it to the past. Wrestling is kind of the same way, I believe. This could be just my opinion. But when you have classic matches and when you give us great storylines and great I don't want to use the word sports entertainment with AEW because that's not their thing. But if you give us great moments, great wrestling, a great story, then we can forget about this stuff. And I think that's the only response for the Young Bucks and FTR match. They have to give us another classic match. They have to give us a match that we will talk about more than what AEW did by airing that footage. So I want to watch it because there's a few matches that I'm very excited about. So I might just take me a mean nap on Sunday and then go to Shack House and we stream live with y'all and actually watch AEW Dynasty because I'm very interested to see that match. AEW, I'm going to say this again now that we have this platform. As far as streaming your pay-per-views, y'all have to get it together. Okay, y'all have to get it together. Like, for real, y'all got to get it together. For y'all to still be associated with Bleacher Report, says a lot. Like, get your streaming together. Partner with one of these networks, The Zone. The Zone shows boxing. Partner with somebody that we can access through the TV. Like, I shouldn't have to hook up my laptop to get on Bleacher Report to show the TV app. Like, Bleacher Report app is not on every TV. It's not on the PlayStation streaming access. Like, give us a common streaming network, whether you partner with somebody or whatever, that we can simply access and then go to your product. Now, I know you may not have you may need the pay-per-view buys. That's fine. You know what I'm saying? If you want to do that, that's fine. But partner with somebody, even USC partner with ESPN. It don't necessarily have to be that drastic. But like I said, The Zone, you can give us somebody, Paramount Plus, whatever. Like, at this point, y'all way in the game. Like, give us easier access to your product. And then eventually, once you get your money up, like, give us a payment plan instead of having us buy every single pay-per-view. All right, because it's not like y'all got 5 pay-per-views anymore. Y'all are upticking your pay-per-views. All right, cool. So back to WWE. Bleacher Report. Y'all think y'all slick. Bleacher. Bleacher Report think they slick. And they thought that we forgot about that top 50 that they put out. They're very slick because they put it out. They put the rest of the list out during WrestleMania weekend. and it got overlooked. People made comments on it, but I haven't seen a lot of people like talk about it on their podcast on air. And it was very slick because it got a lot of eyes on it. But I ain't forget. We did a couple episodes talking about it, but we ain't spent a lot of time because we thought they was on the right track. And once they gave us numbers 30 through 21, I sent it to Shaq and I said, here we go. Because this is about to get real interesting. And then you do numbers 20 through 11. And I said, huh. And then I saw the rest of the list. So if you have not seen the list, all right, I'm not going to read the entire list, but I'm going to give you, right now, I'm going to give you some of the names that's on this list, all right, and where they're ranked. So when we left off, we was at number 30. So I'm gonna go through this real quick, all right. At 30 was Razor Ramon. Matter of fact, I just said 29 was Trish Stratus. 28 was China. 27 was Charlotte Flair. 26 Seth Rollins. 25 Edge. 24 Ric Flair. 23 Becky Lynch. 22 Daniel Bryan. 21 Triple H. 20 CM Punk. 19 Randy Orton. 18 Eddie Guerrero. 17 Brock Lesnar. 16 Chris Jericho. 15 Mick Foley. 14 Andre the Giant. 13 Roman Reigns. 12 Rey Mysterio. 11 Kurt Angle. 10 Hulk Hogan. 9 Roddy Piper. 8 Shawn Michaels. 7 The Rock. 6 Bruno Sammartino. 5 John Cena. 4 The Undertaker. 3 Macho Man Randy Savage. 2 Stone Cold Steve Austin. And number 1 Bret the Hitman Hart. Now, I have issues. I have issues all across this. But before I get to the issues, excuse me 1 second. I got to get my phone because I have notes. So before I talk about, right, because when anytime somebody does a ranking, it's important that they list the criteria and they talk about how did we get here? Like, you can't just do a ranking. It got to be based on some form of criteria. Certain things have to matter. So I'm going to read you the criteria that Bleacher Report had just in case, so you'll know. Okay, so it's not 100% based on wrestling ability and stuff like that. It's factors. So I'm going to read it to you real quick. So the criteria, excuse me. Number 1, historical significance. I can't talk tonight. Did they have a meaningful impact on the history of WWE? Championships. Were they among the most decorated in company history? Popularity. How over was the superstar with WWE fans? Needle mover. Did they make a meaningful difference in ratings, ticket sales, and overall business? Time active. Was a superstar successful over a sustained period or just a flash in the pan? Pay-per-view appearances. Were they fixtures on the biggest shows in WWE? And last but not least, skills, in-ring, mic, charisma. Were they more than just a wrestler? Did their skill set stop at the microphone? Were they charismatic? So essentially what they're factoring in wrestling ability, they're factoring in promos, they're factoring in your character, your charisma, they're factoring in pay-per-views, they're factoring in your length of time in WWE and what did you do in that time. Did you move the needle as far as ratings, as far as ticket sales, as far as pay-per-view buys or whatever? Did you increase the net worth of the business? How popular were you? How many championships did you hold? And how long did you hold him? And what's your historical significance to WWE? All right. So with that being said, now that we got that out the way, we're gonna start at number one with Bret Hart being number one. If this was about wrestling ability, I wouldn't have an issue with Bret Hart being number one. I personally wouldn't have him number one, but as far as in-ring ability, I don't have a problem with anybody that has him number one. All right. He's probably the greatest technical wrestler of all time. There's other people that can be argued for that spot, but he's probably is the greatest technical wrestler of all time. I personally, I'm not gonna lie to you. These days, I'm leaning towards Daniel Bryan myself, but I wouldn't have no problem saying Bret Hart. I wouldn't have no problem with anybody saying Bret Hart, right? But when you factor in all this other stuff, if you're factoring in historical significance, championships, popularity, moving the needle, pay-per-view appearances, stuff like that, I wouldn't even have a problem with people putting him top 5. But there's no way when you factor in all of this, you're telling me he's ahead of 3 people. And I'm gonna give you these 3 people. There's no way he's ahead of Shawn Michaels. There's no way he's ahead of The Undertaker. Matter of fact, I'm gonna give you 4. There's no way he's ahead of Stone Cold Steve Austin. And there's no way, a lot of you are not going to like this, but there's no way he's ahead of John Cena. If this is your criteria, your factors, there's no way. There's absolutely no way. Bret Hart was a staple in main events. So he was in WrestleMania 8, 9, 10. I can't remember if he was in 11. Definitely 12 and 13. All right, so that's 6 WrestleManias if my math is right. Okay, Bret Hart, we just talking about WWE. His time, he was beloved in WWE. Put on some classic matches and everything. But what Stone Cold did for wrestling, if we talk about historical significance, let's just factor in that. What Stone Cold did, Stone Cold saved WWE. Literally, he saved WWE. Him and DX saved WWE because without them, WCW, people was tuning in. Once Hogan joined WCW, he was revealed as the 3rd man. They went on that NWO run. WCW is about to put WWE out of business. Stone Cold and DX in the Attitude Era, but specifically Stone Cold and DX single-handedly saved WWE. So if we talking about historical significance alone, that's Stone Cold all day. Pay-per-views and ratings. Right? Arenas was sold out for Stone Cold in his apex. Matter of fact, give me a WrestleMania where Bret Hart main evented in a stadium. Stone Cold, WrestleMania 17, which was one of the greatest WrestleMania main event matches of all time, not one of the greatest matches at WrestleMania history. Stone Cold versus The Rock, that was in the Astrodome. That was in a stadium. Do y'all think Bret Hart was selling out a main event in a stadium like that for WrestleMania? I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So we talking about that. We talk about promos. We remember way more Stone Cold promos than Bret Hart, right? Pay-per-view appearances, they probably even, or Bret Hart might have more. And then the time sustained. Now Stone Cold's run, the only critique about his run was small because he did have that part where he took his ball and went home. But he was a staple. WrestleMania 13 with Bret, ironically, 14, 15. He main evented 14, 15. WrestleMania 2000 he wasn't there. He main evented 17. 18 he was there, but he had that match with Scott Hall. And then 19 was his final match. So it's about 7 WrestleManias. So about the same as Bret Hart. So, but if we factor in, and then popularity, like popularity, what we talking about? Bret Hart is beloved, but not like Stone Cold. Stone Cold may be the most popular wrestler in WWE history, if not of all time. Like his name, when I think of popularity in wrestling, I think of a few names. I think of Sting. I think of Undertaker. I think of Shawn Michaels. I think of Ric Flair. I wouldn't put Bret in my top 5 most popular WWE superstars. He'd be top 10, but not top 5. But that's just Stone Cold. Shawn Michaels. All the stuff that I talked about. Shawn Michaels got the edge in. I mean, we talking about in ring ability, I just said Bret Hart was maybe the greatest technical wrestler of all time. But if we factor in everything that includes inside the ring, in ring ability, even Ric Flair has Shawn Michaels as the greatest in ring wrestler of all time. Promos, Shawn Michaels. Popularity, Shawn Michaels. Um, Pay per views and ratings and stuff like that with DX, Shawn Michaels. Like Undertaker, oh my God, like his significance. Undertaker, Shawn Michaels might be the two most influential wrestlers in WWE history. From the walkout, the thing that the wrestlers doing now, where even Roman Reigns, where they stop at the end of the ramp and look at the wrestlers in the ring and then do that move towards the ramp. That's Undertaker. The matches that he's influenced, Hell in a Cell, casket match. I mean, some of the matches they don't do anymore, but Hell in a Cell turned into a whole pay-per-view. Like the storyline with him and Kane, like you talking about significance, you talking about popularity. Did you hear the pop for him at WrestleMania? If that was Bret Hart, you think he get that pop? No. So I mean, is this stuff like where the inconsistency I have with some of these rankings? Like, what are we talking about here? Like, I love Bret. He may be top 5, but there's no way he's above them. I'll be honest with you. You can make an argument he shouldn't be above Macho Man because Macho Man moves the needle in all of these categories. Promos, even though I don't know what, rest in peace Macho. I don't know what he was on though. But promos, you remember more Macho Man promos than Bret. Bret might have more classic matches. As far as in-ring ability, Macho Man one of the most talented wrestlers ever. Needle mover, people. One of the greatest WrestleMania moments of all time is Macho Man getting back with Miss Elizabeth, but it ain't even a match. Historical significance. Now championships, Bret got the edge. Macho Man didn't win a lot of championships, unfortunately. But some people made the argument Macho Man should be ahead. But those names I gave you, and then John Cena, man. Look, people can say whatever they want about John Cena. John Cena hit an Undertaker move where he got better as he got older. And then promos, he's one of the best talkers on the microphone of all time. Matches, ratings. John Cena definitely main evented stadiums. I mean, his first two was arenas 21 and 22, but 23, 24, well, he wasn't the main event, but 23, 24, 25, he wasn't the main event, but stadium 26, 27, 28, 29, all stadiums. You know what I'm saying? So 30 stadium, so 31 with Rusev stadium. So I mean, if we talking about this stuff, I don't think Bret Hart is ahead of those 4 names. Macho Man is debatable. There's a couple other names, and I won't be on this topic too much longer, that I wanted to say should be higher. Triple H, man. 21, really? One of the greatest heels in WWE history. One of the most decorated champions, if we talk about championships in WWE history. Now, Needle Mover, that's debatable with him as a heel, but his time with DX, absolute Needle Mover. Ratings, I mean, Triple H being 21. Some people make the argument that Triple H should be, if not close to Bret, ahead of Bret. Like, he should be around where Bret Hart is at. He's giving you classic matches. Popularity, look at it now. They ain't stopped the time frame. And then time active, he spent his whole career. Well, not his whole career, his whole prime. He made it in WWE and spent a lot of time there. So Triple H, if this is the criteria, Triple H should be top 10. Roman Reigns should be top 10 too. Now, what hurts Roman Reigns is the time frame, because his best time as a tribal chief was like a 4-5 year period, right? And then he had them other years where he was the big dog and nobody liked the character. So I can understand him being around 10 and 13. I think he should be at 10. I do think he should be top 10. When it's all said and done, Roman Reigns is going to be top 3. But for right now, I think maybe 13 is fine. Some people are going to say Hulk Hogan should be higher. As far as historical significance, championships, he fits the bill. Popularity, he fits the bill. Needle mover, yeah. I mean, even Hulk Hogan, main event stadiums, time active. it's just where Hulk Hogan, where it hurts Hulk Hogan tremendously, is if you factor in the in ring ability, he takes a significant hit. Um, but even with everything else, like he should be top 10. So I have no problem with him being 10. I don't think Roddy Piper should be ahead of him though. I will say that. I think that was highway robbery. Now Roddy Piper is a better in ring wrestler, but when you factor in all those criterias, we got to be consistent. Roddy shouldn't be ahead of him, and probably Macho shouldn't be ahead of him, even though Macho's a far better in ring wrestler. He just when you factor in the other stuff, it just weighs that much more with Hulk Hogan. Some people probably say he should be top 5. I have no problem with him being out of the top 5, but he is top 10. Um, The Rock, he's probably around 6 or 7 for me, probably like 6. When you factor in all that stuff, because Rock one of the best talkers of all time. Rock moved the needle as far as ratings. He gave us great matches. Not the best in ring performer, but he knew how to give great matches. You know what I'm saying? Even with that being said, championships, you factor in all that stuff. Rock top 10. If some people argue he's top 5, which I would have no problem with. I got my top 5, but some people argue it's Rock. And then Randy Orton should be higher too. Randy should be higher too when you factor in all. Only thing about Randy is the ratings and the needle mover part, but everything else he touched the box. So I'm not gonna critique every spot, but those were the clear things that I pointed out. Having Bret Hart number 1 and having those that being criteria was kind of crazy. So just wanted to comment on that real quick. I'll say this real quick. There's stories about Rock versus Cody potentially main event in WrestleMania 41. I would be the first to tell you, I don't want to see that. I would rather see Rock versus Cody at like Royal Rumble, Survivor Series, SummerSlam. I don't want to see it be a main event I don't want to see it be a WrestleMania main event. 'Cause I feel like once again you taking a spot from somebody else. Roman's gonna main event WrestleMania next year. Cody's gonna. It's 2 people that's guaranteed the main event either night 1 or night 2, but one of those nights, and that's Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. Seth should be the other one. It's time to give Seth a singles main event match. It's a travesty that he hasn't had one, and I feel like if The Rock fights Cody at WrestleMania, I feel like he takes away that moment from Seth. Somebody got to sacrifice. And it shouldn't be Seth again. Seth should either face, in my opinion, Seth should either face Cody and CM Punk probably gonna main event one of those nights too. So it's 2 people that's guaranteed and 2 people that should. Seth and CM Punk should main event simply because neither one of them have had a singles match at WrestleMania in the main event. And honestly, I'm cool with one of those nights, the main event being Seth versus CM Punk. But I just don't want to see The Rock is all right. So The Rock gave us recently some of the best work in his entire career. The only downside was that 40-minute promo the night after WrestleMania, right? But it's some of the best work he's ever had in his career. I appreciate it. I love it. But the another main event back to back with you and Cody, I just don't want to see that, man. I want to see Seth and CM Punk get their main event match, whether it's against each other or against other people. But those 2 should main event somehow, some way, especially Seth. I would love to see Seth versus Roman. But the way the storyline going now, we don't know if Roman's going to come back as a face or a heel. It's kind of looking like he might come back as a face because the crowd reaction to him now is organic. 2 weeks in a row, we got thank you, Roman chance. We want Roman chance. So I was telling Reggie that if he comes back as a face, it has to be organic, and we're kind of getting that organic reaction. So both, Roman probably had to go against a heel, but yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing. With that being said, I would rather see Rock versus Roman than Rock versus Cody. You know what I'm saying? And part of it is I just don't believe Rock versus Cody is gonna be a great match. I just don't. All right. What else we got? Best wishes to Rhea Ripley. She had to vacate the title last week. So best wishes. From the reports I've been seeing, she legit has an arm injury, And word on the street is that it legit happened in that promo with Liv Morgan. So if you look at the promo, she immediately holds her arm afterwards. So she probably did get hurt in that promo. I thought she was pregnant. I thought that's why she was stepping away, but it looks like she legit got hurt in that promo, which wasn't intentional. So that's the story that they got right now. We might find out something else later, but best wishes to her. I will say this real quick. As far as Raw superstars, I think either Nia Jax or Liv Morgan should be the one to win the women's world heavyweight title, but preferably Liv Morgan. I don't understand why they booing her now, though. Well, actually, I do. Mommy is so beloved. It's time for, I will say this about Judgment Day. It's time for a shakeup in Judgment Day because Mommy is so, Rhea is so over. Like, they don't boo her at all, no matter what she says. She is so over and so popular. And then I think because of Damian, I didn't see this coming, so shout out to Damian Priest, but because of the way he cashed in and because of his story and what he's been through, I think people are organically ready to cheer for Damian Priest. And I also think it's time that Finn steps up and becomes a leader of Judgment Day. So I wouldn't mind seeing a scenario where they turn on Damian Priest and Mommy comes back and doesn't like what's going on, so she separates herself from the group anyway. And they find somebody else to replace her, like a Liv Morgan, to replace her in Judgment Day. That actually be kind of crazy. So we gotta wait to see, but best wishes to her. Big E, I wanted to send my love to Big E, man, on behalf of Yes We Still Watch Wrestling. Big E, he's still not cleared, and he just had a report that he don't know if he'll ever be cleared. I hope they use him in some way, form, or fashion, whether they giving him the Titus O'Neil role where he's one of the ambassadors, or whether they bring him on commentary, or whether they have him be the manager for New Day. Whatever it may be, man, I just hope they use him, man. I hope he gets clear soon. I hope a miracle happens in his life. I hope, what I'm saying, God touches him, man, and he's able to get restored, man, because Big E, he was on a good run, you know what I'm saying? And it got taken away from him like that. So shout out to Big E, man. And that's all I got for the night, man. Never want to talk our heads off for a straight hour, and we just talk and talk. We don't have no sponsors yet, but eventually we'll have some ads in here, and we'll have some sponsorship. But don't want to talk your heads off for over an hour with just me. So that's all I got for tonight. Anything else I can cover next week. So let me know your thoughts on everything. The Bleacher Report Top 50. How you feel about what's going on with Solo. What did you think of Ronda Rousey's interview? Is Seth Rollins your MVP for WrestleMania weekend? Do you want to see Rock versus Cody at next year's WrestleMania? They're talking about either Vegas or Minnesota being the location. I'm as cold as it may be, as crazy as it sounds. I love Vegas, but I don't think I'm be able to afford Vegas unless the pie. Y'all help us blow up, and we could afford it. But Minnesota looking way more affordable. I ain't gonna lie. But yeah, do y'all want to see Rock versus Cody main event one of the nights next year? What did you think about AEW as far as airing the footage? Are you excited for AEW Dynasty? All those things, man. So, podcast. Y'all make sure y'all like and subscribe to the content. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram. Follow us on Twitch. Yeah, I think I already said Twitch. Follow us, like and subscribe to the videos, man. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. For all my people who still watch wrestling, man. Appreciate, and even if you are getting back into wrestling, appreciate you tuning in to the podcast, man. Comment, engage with us. We love talking wrestling, so engage with us, man. Don't just like and subscribe. Engage, talk to us about it, because we're passionate fans about wrestling. All right. Until next time, be blessed. Have a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves.